Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, Afrexim Bank hires top lobbying firms to ensure U.S. President-elect Donald Trump renews African Growth and Opportunity Act. Also coming up, energy strategist Dr. Isi Sulemana predicts global green energy push will take a hit following the re-election of Donald Trump as the next president of the U.S.
Trump may like to put pressures on investment to the renewable energy and that could propel that of hydraulic fracking. That would mean that a lot of hydrocarbon will be churned out.
My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. All right, thanks for staying with us, everyone. We begin with this story. Afrexim Bank has hired top lobbying firms to ensure U.S. President-elect Donald Trump listens to what Africans want, which is the renewal of the 24-year-old cornerstone of U.S. economic policy on the continent. That's the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. There are concerns that the Trump win will threaten investments in Africa. So how will the outcome of the U.S. elections impact on investments in the continent? Or Chief Executive of Emerging Business Intelligence and Innovations, EBII Group, Ajua Ejechum, joins me on Zoom to discuss. Hello to you, Ajua. Good to see you. So first off, how significantly has U.S. investment in Africa grown over the years?
Thank you so much, and good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So yes, U.S. investment in Africa has grown significantly over the years. And I'll say that in the 2000s, at the beginning of the year 2000, there was increased investment in infrastructure, energy, with initiatives like the Power Africa. And then when we hit 2010, around that time, there was more around the strategic shift towards private sector investment. And so we had initiatives like the Prosper Africa, which emphasized more on investment in technology, finance and agriculture across the continent of Africa. And the minute we hit the 2020s, the investment has focused more around the sustainable development, with U.S. commitment focusing around the clean energy, around the health and the digital infrastructure. So that's sort of the pattern that we've seen over the years, I would say over the last between 10 to 20 odd years. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess a question on everybody's mind, does a Trump win threaten investments in Africa? You know, he's got the America First policy, and people feel that's going to impact on FDIs.
I mean, that's a good question, and that's a good point. To some extent, there will be some impact. And of course, the America First, what that means is there is more opportunity now for renegotiation of relationship with the U.S. around trade. But also, America First means that a lot of the agreement that Trump's government is going to go into is going to be focusing on mutually beneficial trade relationship, which is, to some extent, is also very good for Africa because it is a time where Africa then completely moves from aid to trade. And I think this will emphasize that because there's been a lot of conversation about Africa moving from aid to trade. And yes, there has been a lot of progress in that direction. But I do believe that the Trump government will focus more around that, the strategic business relationship or trade relationship that is mutually beneficial for both the continent of Africa and for the US. And so that's where I believe that we're going to head towards.
All right. So when we started the bulletin, I just mentioned that the Afro-Exim Bank, according to Africa Report, is lobbying, is hired lobbyists actually for AGOA, which is supposed to be renewed next year. Your thoughts on this move?
Yeah. So first of all, again, I believe that Trump's government, it's not going to be a bad thing for the continent of Africa. And the reason why I say that is when he came into power 4 years ago, they started, so the initiatives like the Prosper Africa, initiatives like the DFC is a Trump government initiative. And these are organizations that they've been set up to focus on investing in Africa. And then, of course, we have the Power Africa, which was an Obama initiative. But Trump did not stop the Power Africa initiative when he came into government. He actually sponsored it, and they expanded electricity access across the continent. And of course, we come to AGOA. Now, AGOA, again, when Trump came into power, he did not stop AGOA. He continued with AGOA. So I can only imagine that it will continue. He is a businessman. He's not a typical politician. And he's focusing more on business and how, of course, business relationship and trade relationship can grow America and the other parties. So I do definitely believe that it will continue. Now, Afro-Exim Bank hiring lobbies to lobby and to ensure that their voice is heard is a good thing. Of course, it's a new government, and we must not rule out the fact that, yes, a lot of effort needs to be done, especially with the America First agenda. We will have to be more vocal as Africans within the U.S. space to be heard. But I do believe that Trump will not ignore Africa based on what he's done in the past.
Yeah, and what sort of strategy should we adopt on our part to ensure that, I mean, that relationship is going on? We are having investments from the U.S.
Yeah, so I do believe that, yes, we have to be more vocal, but also in terms of how we are presented as Africans. And that comes back to my usual conversations around risk management, ensuring that we are doing the right things, all the different risks, the political risk and financial crime risk and all the different risks that you can think about that makes U.S. investors hesitant. We would have to pay a bit more attention around that governance and the rest of it. And I believe that once we are playing a role and we are vocal, we are heard, I can only imagine that the Trump government will be focusing on the partnerships, like I said before, that is mutually beneficial. And of course, that also eliminates corruption.
Yeah, anything else Africa can do to make us more attractive for investments?
I think we are sort of on the right path. We've got the AFCFTA, we've got organizations like the Afro-Exim Bank, we've got so many things happening on the continent, so we are on the right path. I will encourage the Africans to keep at it, and of course, a lot more focus around minimizing the risk perception. And of course, some of it is something that we can do, so minimizing the different risk, investment risk perception, and that we give we portray, or sometimes we are perceived. So the different things that we're doing, we should continue doing it. And I think the AFCFTA will also play a very major role in us, becoming more visible in this sense.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Adjoeje Chum, she's Chief Executive of EBII Group. I appreciate your time. We'll talk sometime soon, Adjoa.
Thank you. We're headquartered now in Washington, D.C., so I'm here. Thank you.
Join us all the way from the U.S. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Still on the Trump presidency, energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleiman has disclosed that the global green energy push will certainly take a hit, whilst the push for the use of fossil fuel will gain much more momentum following the re-election of Donald Trump as the next U.S. president. Speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Suleiman said that pressures with the pricing of crude oil could reduce drastically owing to Mr. Trump's commitment of championing the use of fossil fuels.
This is when the Democrats came to power. They had opened up a lot of investment into green energy, in a renewable energy space. And you know, in the energy market, I always say that the renewables and hydrocarbon, however that you may want to say, they are always competing each other. So if you have upsurge in investment into the world of renewables, that might likely impact that of hydrocarbon. And if you have upsurge in the investment to the world of hydrocarbon, that might likely impact that of renewables, because they are actually the same players who are operating within the space. The players who are producing oil were forced, you know, to cut down oil production and diversify into the world of renewables. So, and Democrats have pushed that. And if you look at their Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of investment was pushed, and a lot of, you know, environment was, very good environment was created to propel that of renewables. I'm saying there will likely be huge changes, because we might likely see the flip, this policy flipped the other way around, because Trump hasn't hidden his intention with respect to the energy space in the US. US has become #1 oil producer thanks to fracking, hydraulic fracking. And Trump has made it clear that he's going to prepare fracking to levels that we've not seen before. If that should happen, it means that, fracking and green energy, I told, they are always opposite each other of the sort. So Trump may like to put pressures on investment to the renewable energy, and that could propel that of hydraulic fracking. That would mean that a lot of hydrocarbon will be churned out. And so we'd like to see that since 2019, US has been #1 oil producer. That will be cemented undoubtedly going to 2025. And cementing that will mean that the hidden pressure that we had that sometimes propel oil prices, they may be nullified in a way. So in all directions that you look at it, Trump presidency will likely see more pressures on oil prices, especially if US actually ramp up and produces more.
All right, so that point made by Dr. Yusuf Suleiman takes us to a business and politics segment, still heavy on the U.S. elections and the outcome. America has decided, and Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the U.S. This afternoon, we ask an important question: what's in it for the next president of Ghana in the world of trade and global finance? And as the country prepares to go to the polls on December 7, lead data analyst with Joy News, Isaac Kofi joins me in studio to discuss. So let's start from Isaac, his international affairs position and how that could impact Ghana.
Well, so with Trump, you just be looking at one thing. He says America is no longer Father Christmas, which means he believes that over the years, America has been throwing money elsewhere that is not being beneficial to them. So he has some interesting foreign policies that would definitely not come into Africa directly, but will sincerely affect Africa. One is the war in Ukraine, which he says is going to end. We'll talk about the economic implication. If US stops financing or funding Ukraine, what this means is that Europe will have to step in to do the financing. If Europe steps in, this is the space that we go to borrow the Euro bonds, which means that capital that is available will now be shared between developing economies who will come and do road shows and Ukraine, who will be who now have the attention of Europe because the paymaster is not longer there, which is America. Trump says that he sees Zelensky as he's a salesman, and when it comes to America, he walks away with billions of dollars. And so they are not going to fund the war in Ukraine. Another, foreign policy that we have to look at, let's look at the next slide, which is the alliance with NATO, which is also connected to Ukraine. If US is not doing that this morning, we are all seeing how Europe is actually struggling because of the difficulties being faced by Germany and France. We know Germany just sacked their finance minister, all because Europe is not in that good situation fiscally. And in fact, if Germany and France are not in good position, that tells you that this man here, who is very particular about the strength of the dollar, will start to chase the euro, where they want the American dollar to be the most dominant currency actually in the whole world at the moment. We take another look at another foreign policy that has to do with trade with China. For me, this is one of the biggest issues that will possibly affect Africa and for that matter, Ghana. That up to 20% tariff that they intend to place, not just on China, but on other countries. If it's actually placed on China, which means that China will not see US as one of the go-to places where they can do business, then the next question we have to ask ourselves is dumping. Will Africa be used as a next dumping ground for, Chinese, goods? Let's go to the next one. This, for me, is big. He says that it could go as high as 60% for China in terms of tariff and 20% for the rest of the world, which we are included. In fact, we are under the AGOA program. And if you look at the data, US under Trump is not really lucrative when we talk about AGOA, trade, and Africa doesn't really benefit when this man is actually in the seats. And the other interesting, data that we can look at, which he says that if anybody decides that you are going to ditch the dollar, you could face as high as 100% tariff on imports. So the next president of Ghana should be watching
think about, and already, I mean, the dollar is showing very strong following the news of
exactly
his win. And so that's headache for the next president of the country.
Absolutely. It's headache for the next president. It's headache for the exchange rate. Businesses will be affected because, I mean, we have to ask ourselves, do we have the buffers? This was the data that I was actually talking about. Look at it between 2016 and 2020. See how trade between Ghana and the US were actually very, very low. In 2020, when power actually shifted, it went as high as 2.8 billion.
This was the Trump era, right?
Exactly, 2016 to 2020.
And
just when Biden came through, just see, the figures started going up again. Now he will be in power again. Are we going to return to this low point, starting from 2025?
And what does it mean if we return to this low point?
Absolutely. I mean, when you stop trading directly with America, it means that you'll not be getting forex inflows. You need the dollar. Currently, our import bill is estimated to hit $18 billion at the end of the year. Every month, we add about $2 billion. We need this. We even import, let me say, meat offals, which we call yamadia. We need billions of dollars, millions of dollars to import that. We import things, like tomatoes, where we spend close to $380 million to import tomato and other tomato product. That tells you that if you stop trading with the US, one, you're not going to get the dollar to flow into the country. Remember that you have a very high debt servicing obligation in the next coming years. You need dollars to actually start paying these loans.
But I guess this reason, as the story we led with today, that Afrexim Bank is sending lobbyists to try to get, the Trump presidency to listen to them and
that'll be interesting.
Probably renegotiate AGOA in terms that favors both parties.
In fact, AGOA expires next year, and we are trying to see if Trump will renew that initiative. But for me, the biggest thing is the Eurobond market. We intend to go there very soon. If the US decide not to support or fund Ukraine, that tells you that Europe will turn their attention on Ukraine, and funding will be now shifted to Ukraine. And when we go there to do our roadshows, the key question is, what sort of interest rate are they going to hit us? Already, there's a bad signal out there that we defaulted, and we are trying to go back in the space where money will not be available.
Well, we are seeing European leaders cozying up to Trump, perhaps just to get him to reflect and maybe not to go ahead with whatever plans he has for NATO. Thank you so much, Isaac Kofi, lead data analyst, for joining us. Appreciate the insights, very helpful. Well, let's turn to other stories for you. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has questioned government's commitment to the industry sector. This follows a revelation that no significant amount of funding was allocated to the sector from the petroleum fund since last year. Speaking to journalists after releasing a semi-annual report, Chairman of PIAC, Constantine Kujeji, noted that the development is not good for the country.
Also found that there was neither allocation nor disbursement to the industrialization priority area during the period under review. The 4 priority areas, one of them is industrialization. We don't have anything on that in the first half of 2024. Last year, we had 0.11%. Okay, 0.11, less than 1%. This year, we don't have even that 0.11. That is not too good in the sense that it shows that we are not too committed as a nation to industrialize. But as I said, this is a guide for policy implementers. So, yes.
All right, some more stories. Amansia Rural Bank PLC is reinvesting in the education of a human resource pool in its operational area with the introduction of a scholarship scheme for students. The fund, suspended in 2017, is set to commence in 2025 to provide financial assistance to selected brilliant but needy students in rural communities under the bank's jurisdiction. Meanwhile, the bank has commissioned a community center for Antwerp is originating in town to foster community engagement aimed at local development and well-being. Emmanuel Bright Kweko reports the bank has increased its corporate social responsibility, spending close to 420,000 cedis.
In 2023, the Amansia Rural Bank increased its spending by 72% on its corporate social responsibility activities over the 2022 figure. A total amount of 419,125 cedis was spent in 2023 as compared to 243,225 cedis in 2022. A significant portion was allocated to education, community pavilion and security sectors to support natives of the bank's catchments. To solidify its commitment to fostering socio-economic development in rural Ghana, the bank is reintroducing its scholarship scheme to provide financial aid to brilliant but needy students. After its suspension over the last 7 years, the scheme will kick off in 2025 to support at least 10 students to the tertiary level in the next 4 years. Frederick Kwachiche is the Chief Executive Officer of the bank.
We needed to return something to the community, especially those within the Amansia catchment areas. We realized that we were lacking some professionals, for instance, those pursuing engineering. And let me say that as part of our corporate social responsibility, we ought to also do the analysis and see where, as a community, we are falling short. So we realize that bringing back the scholarship will also enable the brilliant but needy students to assess them.
At its 39th annual general meeting, the bank also commissioned a community center for the Antwerp community in the Amansia West district. The pavilion seeks to foster community engagement for socio-economic development and well-being in the area.
The Amansia Rural Bank, we have been of help to the people of Amansia, both west and south. I'm saying this because every year when they are doing this program, the annual general meeting, they give scholarships a lot to people. Apart from education side, they help both districts in terms of health programs and projects. They also help community-based projects like the community center that we just inaugurated.
Chief of Antwerp, Nana Otredako Ampem II, expressed the community's gratitude to the bank. He emphasized the pavilion will serve its rightful purpose in fostering community cohesion and development.
A
lot of banks are working, but they aren't making any difference in the communities they are. But Amansia Rural Bank has done a lot for us. This is a testament to the good initiatives they have embarked on. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweko.
Now, the Ghana Climate Compatible Growth CCG network is uniting stakeholders across sectors to help with the energy transition move. Here's more in this report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Achieving net zero emissions by 2060 will require emissions to peak by the mid-2030s, followed by a rapid decline. Meeting this goal presents considerable financing challenges, with Ghana's National Energy Transition Framework estimating that a cumulative capital investment of about $550 billion will be required. Ghana Climate Compatible Growth Network is encouraging dialogue on transforming ideas into impactful projects that address decarbonization goals in the energy and transport sectors through research, investment, and analysis. The 5 key areas of interest are new energy vehicles, green hydrogen, financing the energy transition, inclusive net zero emissions future, and clean cooking. Coordinator of Climate Compatible Growth Activities in Ghana, Professor Francis Kemaswa, emphasizes the collaborative nature of the special interest groups.
So what
we are doing is bringing people together into these special interest groups so they can pull their ideas together, so they can be able to conduct research, to conduct some analysis into some of these areas that are of interest to us. I mean, in the end, what we want to do is to be able to contribute towards a sustainable energy transition in Ghana, as well as sustainable transportation.
My name is Jairo Quiroz. I am Deputy Director of the Climate Compatible Program and also Professor at Loughborough University. We are extremely proud to be supporting the country in Ghana with these studies to support the energy transition in the country. These 2 days, yesterday, Tuesday and Wednesday, been quite productive here in the country, having discussions or dialogue with multiple stakeholders, discussing the different alternatives that the country have in terms of the energy transition and options to really move away from dirty energy to clean energy as soon as possible and hopefully before 2050.
Reflecting on the productivity of the 2-day workshop, he says,
we've been discussing how productive or what are the different options in terms of the electricity sector, the transport sector the country has. So hopefully this workshop will give us enough information to start discussing in more in-depth using multiple quantitative and qualitative tools available for free within the Climate Compatible Growth Program, and also the dialogue with the different stakeholders to co-create energy transition plans that the country will adopt.
Country Program Manager for Center for Global Equality, Dr. Elizabeth Tennyson, highlights the importance of co-creative research and capacity-building initiatives that aligns with Ghana's sustainable development objectives.
So excited.
All right, we'll speak of energy transition on our website. Some more energy story for you. Ghana records over 55% increase in petroleum revenue for the first half of 2024. myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.